Hello, our wonderful listeners. Settle in, grab a soothing cup of herbal tea or a strong coffee. Maybe even treat yourselves to some crispy cookies. Let us know in the comments what little ritual makes your day special. Have you subscribed to our channel and hit that like button? Today, a warm and gripping story awaits you, so get comfortable and enjoy. When I found those tickets, my hands weren't shaking from excitement, but from pure rage. 2 Amtrak tickets from New York to Philadelphia purchased 3 days ago for today, my birthday. Michael! I yelled to my husband, who was fiddling with something in the bathroom. Get in here now. He appeared in the bedroom doorway, toothbrush in hand, hair disheveled, wearing an old t-shirt. His face wore that all-too-familiar expression I'd learned to recognize over our 4 years of marriage, a mixture of guilt and a readiness to lie until the bitter end. What's wrong, Sarah? I held out the tickets. He glanced at them, then at me, and I saw his eye twitch, that telltale sign whenever he was caught in a lie. Explain this to me, I said quietly. When I speak quietly, smart people get scared. Michael wasn't one of the smart ones. Look, I was going to tell you, but you were so stressed about the party, you invited your mother to my 35th birthday party, after you promised me she wouldn't be here. He tried to smile, but it was pathetic. Sarah Bear, come on. She's my mother. How could I not invite her? It's a family celebration after all. I felt something inside me shatter. Not my heart. That had hardened long ago. It was the last shred of trust I had for the man I'd shared a bed and breakfast with for 4 years. A family celebration, I repeated. So when your mom calls my Timmy, that other woman's kid, that's family style. When she tells me I'm just a gold digger who trapped her son, those are family get-togethers too. Michael looked away. The classic reaction of a weak man caught red-handed. Mom's just... She worries about me. She wants what's best. Best for whom, Michael? For you or for her? He didn't answer, and that was an answer in itself. I slipped the tickets into my jeans pocket and headed for the door. Where are you going? He called out. To prepare for our dear guest, since you decided this without me. In the hallway, I almost bumped into Timmy. My 12-year-old son emerged from his room, textbook in hand, but his face told me he'd heard everything. Timmy had an uncanny talent for materializing at the worst possible moments and absorbing information like a sponge. Mom, is Grandma Linda really coming? He asked. His voice laced with such hopelessness it made me want to figuratively take Michael apart. She is, sweetie. But don't you worry, we'll handle it. Timmy nodded, but his eyes grew sad. This boy in his 12 years had endured his parents' divorce, a new family, and now regular visits from a woman who considered him an obstacle to her precious son's happiness. You go work on your homework, I said, kissing the top of his head. I'm going to get the party food ready for our family. In the kitchen, I switched on the kettle and tried to gather my thoughts. Outside, a chilly October rain was falling gray and dreary, matching my mood. 35, a respectable age, a time when one should have stability and peace. And what did I have? A traitorous husband, a meddling mother-in-law, and the constant feeling of walking on eggshells. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A text from my mom. Honey, Dad and I are on our way. We'll be there by 3. Ordered the cake from that bakery you love. At least something good today. My parents, my rock, my support system. Especially Dad, Nicholas Miller. Not the kind of man who lets anyone mess with his daughter. At 62, he still had an imposing presence that made younger guys steer clear. And Michael practically turned into a quivering puppy around him. I started pulling food out of the fridge when I heard footsteps thudding down the stairs. Timmy was coming down fast, almost running, which was strange. He was supposed to be doing homework. Mom, he yelled, bursting into the kitchen. Mom, I found... He stopped seeing the look on my face. He was holding a folder of documents. What did you find, Timmy? He handed me the folder. On top, I saw a divorce petition form. My name, Michael's name. Filing date 3 weeks ago. The world ceased to exist for a few seconds, then returned, but harsher, more unforgiving. Where did you get this? I asked, flipping through the papers. It fell out of his jacket when I was looking for a pen. Mom, what does this mean? A divorce petition, a claim for division of assets. income statements, and one more document that sent a shiver down my spine, a plan to divide our condo. The very condo we'd bought together 3 years ago using my money from the sale of my old place and his savings. It means your stepfather turned out to be a bigger scumbag than I thought, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Michael was planning to divorce me and try to take half the condo, maybe more. There were statements claiming he'd made the primary contribution to the purchase, which was a lie. "Mom, are we going to have to move again?" Fear tinged Timmy's voice. "No, sweetie. We're not moving anywhere. This is our home." I put the documents back in the folder, feeling a cold, rational anger build inside me. Not hysteria, not tears, but the kind of anger that fuels action. "Timmy, go to your room. Grandma and Grandpa will be here soon. I'll deal with this." My son nodded and headed for the door, but paused at the threshold. Mom, is Michael a bad person? A direct question, as always with him. Kids don't know how to lie to themselves or others. I don't know Timmy, but he's definitely not the man I thought he was. When Timmy left, I sat at the table and studied the documents again, filed 3 weeks ago. So all this time, he'd been smiling at me, kissing me goodnight, making plans for the future, while simultaneously preparing to screw me over. But the most interesting part was at the end of the folder correspondence with a lawyer. It indicated Michael wanted to prove the condo was bought mainly with his money, even though I'd contributed more than half the sum. And his mother was supposed to be the witness to his financial prowess. So the mother-in-law's visit wasn't just a family gathering. It was an operation to prepare for the divorce. I put the documents in a drawer and picked up my phone. Time to call my lawyer. Thankfully, I had one. After my first divorce, I'd sworn I'd never be without legal protection again. "Hello, Ethan Pierce's office." "Yes, this is Sarah Miller. I have a situation." The call took about 20 minutes. My lawyer explained the documents were serious, but I had a good chance, especially since I'd put more money into the condo and could prove it. The main thing he said is don't sign anything and record all conversations. And if you have witnesses to any inappropriate behavior on their part, bring them forward, witnesses. I'd have the best witnesses, my parents. Dad especially would be thrilled to hear how they plan to treat me. I was just finishing the call when the landline rang. The caller ID showed a number I knew by heart but never expected to see again. Andrew, my first husband, Timmy's father. Sarah. His voice sounded formal, almost cold. "I need to talk to you. About what?" "About Timmy." I was thinking maybe it's time he lived with his father. The world tilted again. Twice in half an hour was too much even for my strong nerves. Lived with you in what sense? "Well, I got remarried recently. My wife says a boy needs a male role model. Maybe I'll take him for a while. Why this sudden concern? You've barely seen him in 8 years. I've seen him a little, it's true. But my situation is different now. I thought it would be better for the boy. A new wife, of course. Men always have a new wife who knows best what someone else's child needs." "Andrew," I said, trying not to scream, "you realize he's lived with me for 8 years. He's settled. He has friends here, school." "I understand, but maybe we should try." "I heard you're having some family problems over there." "Who told you that?" A pause. Then Andrew answered, and I knew the day was turning into a complete nightmare. "Your husband called. Said the boy is having a hard time in your family, lots of conflicts." My vision blurred. Michael had been colluding with my ex-husband behind my back. He wasn't just planning to divorce me and take the condo. He wanted to get rid of Timmy by pushing him off on his father. "Andrew," I said, trying to stay calm, "you realize Michael is pursuing his own interests. He just doesn't want another man's kid in the house." "Maybe, but still think about it. The boy is 14, time for him to be around men. He's 12, I corrected. "Oh, right, 12. Well, still that age." He didn't even remember his own son's age. What kind of care could he offer? "I'll think about it." I lied. "I'll call you back." "Okay, just don't take too long. My wife wants to sort this out soon." I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were shaking so badly I had to take several deep breaths to compose myself. So Michael had decided to kill all birds with one stone, divorce me, Sue, for half the condo and get rid of my son by pitting me against his ex. A beautiful combination. Except they hadn't counted on one thing: you don't mess with me and get away with it. I dialed my dad's number. "Dad, it's me. Tell Mom there's a slight change of plans. Today won't just be a birthday celebration. It's going to be an interesting show." "What happened, honey? I'll tell you when you get here. Just come a bit early. And Dad, your old detective skills might come in handy." Nicholas Miller had worked as a police detective for 25 years. He knew how to read between the lines and understand human treachery. "Understood. We'll be there in an hour." I hung up and looked at the clock. 12:30. I had time to prepare for war. Michael was still holed up in the bathroom, pretending to be very busy shaving. Coward. Can't even come out and look me in the eye. But I could. And today, he'd find out who he was dealing with. I pulled a stylish black blouse and cream-colored pants from the closet, an outfit that made me look confident and strong. I'd need all my strength today. "Timmy," I called my son. "Come here." He came downstairs, still looking worried. "Listen to me very carefully," I said, looking him in the eyes. "Today is going to be a tough day. People will come who might want to say nasty things about us, but you remember we're a family. We don't abandon each other. Got it?" Timmy nodded. "And if anyone says I'd be better off not living with you, you tell them they're fools. I'm happy with you." I hugged him, feeling a surge of tenderness and determination. No one was taking this boy from me. Not my ex-husband with his new wife, not my current husband with his venomous mother. The doorbell rang. I glanced out the window. Dad's familiar gray sedan was parked by the curb. "Grandma and Grandpa are here," I told Timmy. "Go meet them." I headed for the bathroom where my dear husband was still hiding. "Michael," I said through the open door, "we have guests. Come out and face the music." He turned and I saw fear in his eyes. He understood from my tone, game over. "Sarah, I can explain. You'll explain to everyone. It'll be very enlightening." From downstairs, I heard footsteps and laughter. Timmy dragging his grandpa upstairs, as always, overjoyed by his arrival. I smiled. Perhaps this birthday would indeed be unforgettable. Just not for me. For those who thought they could play games with me, Sarah. Honey Mom's voice called cheerfully from downstairs. "We're here, coming." I called back, heading towards the only people I could trust unconditionally. Behind me, Michael muttered a quiet curse. It was probably dawning on him that his plan had gone sideways. And this was only the beginning. Dad came up the stairs first, broad-shouldered and confident, as always, a bouquet of chrysanthemums in his hand. Mom followed small and energetic with a cake box and bags of groceries. "Happy birthday, honey." Nicholas hugged me tightly and I felt more confident. Next to Dad, any problem seemed solvable. "Thanks, Dad." "Come in. I'll tell you what's going on here." Mom was already bustling in the kitchen, pulling delicacies from the bags. "Sarah, I brought you some nice salmon and your favorite wine." Karen stopped looking at my face. "What happened? You look so tense." "Mom." "Dad, sit down. I have something to tell you." I laid the divorce papers on the table and recounted my phone call with Andrew. Dad was silent, but I saw his face darken, a sure sign someone was going to deeply regret their actions today. "So they decided to divorce you and grab half the condo," he finally said, "and ship the boy off to his father. Nice scheme." "That's not all," I added. "His mother is coming today apparently to testify about my inappropriate behavior." Mom threw up her hands. "What inappropriate behavior? You work, you run the house, you're raising your child." "Mom, quiet." "Michael might hear upstairs. Let him hear." Karen raised her voice. "Let him know we won't let anyone hurt our girl." Dad stood up and headed for the stairs. "Where is this hero? It's time we had a man-to-man talk." "Dad, wait. Not now. Let his mother arrive first. I want to see their little show." Nicholas stopped, but his tense back showed his patience was wearing thin. At that moment, we heard footsteps from upstairs and Michael appeared. He was dressed in his best shirt and jeans, hair combed, even splashed on some cologne, preparing to meet Mommy. "Hello, Nicholas, Karen," he managed, trying to feign warmth. "How was the drive?" Dad sized him up with a look that made Michael shrink. "Fine, but we'd like to talk about your affairs." "What affairs?" Michael gulped nervously. "About the documents you're hiding from your wife, about the calls to my daughter's ex-husband, about your plans to divorce her and sue for the condo." Michael's face turned white as a sheet. I can explain. Explain, Dad said curtly. It's not what you think. I was just covering my bases in case we didn't get along. Covering your bases, Mom couldn't hold back. Married for 4 years and you're covering your bases. You're just a... Karen and Dad stopped her. Let him explain everything himself. Michael's gaze darted between us, seeking support, but finding none, not even in my eyes. Sarah, tell them what I crossed my arms, that you planned to dump me and my son, that you colluded with Andrew behind my back, that you brought your mother here to testify against me. No, Mom just came for the party. At that moment, his phone rang. Michael glanced at the screen and paled even more. It's Mom, he mumbled. She's calling from the station. Answer it, I said, in front of everyone. Michael pressed the green button but forgot to turn off speakerphone. However, Linda Peterson's voice was so loud we heard every word anyway. Mikey, honey, I'm here. Is everything ready for our little talk, Mom? Not now. Why not now? Did you get the documents ready? I did my part. Found witnesses who will confirm that wife of yours is an unfit mother. A dead silence hung in the air. Dad slowly rose from the couch. Mom clutched her heart. Timmy, who was coming down the stairs, froze halfway. Mom, they can hear everything. Let them hear. I'm tired of pretending I'll be there soon and explain everything to them. Michael frantically disconnected the call, but it was too late. Everyone had heard what they already understood. Linda Peterson hated me and was ready to do anything to destroy our family. Well, son Dad took a step towards Michael. Care to explain what that was? She didn't mean it like that. Then what did she mean? I moved closer. Explain to us what unfit mother means. What witnesses? Michael tried to stammer something, but his words got jumbled. Then his phone rang again. Don't answer, he pleaded, looking at the screen. I'll answer, I said, and pressed the button. Hello, Linda Peterson. It's you, dearie. My mother-in-law's voice dripped with venom. Get ready, honey. Today you're going to find out what a real family is, in what sense you'll see. And while you're at it, tell my son I'm not coming alone. I have a surprise for everyone. What surprise you'll find out when I get there. And set a bigger table. There'll be more of us than you think. The line went dead. I looked at Michael, who resembled a cornered animal. Who is she bringing with her? I asked. I don't know. Honest, I don't know. You're lying. Dad cut in. You're in on all her plans. I'm not. She just said she's bringing someone who will help me understand important things. What important things? Michael hesitated, realizing he'd said too much. That I have other obligations. Speak plainly. I have a son, Michael blurted out. From my first marriage. Mom's been raising him all these years. The world turned upside down again. In 4 years of marriage, he had never once mentioned having a child. A son, I repeated. And where has he been all these years, living with Mom in Philadelphia? I thought it best not to upset you. How old is he? 14. 14 years old, and you never told me about him. Never once visited him. I visited. I just said I was visiting Mom. And Alex, he thought I was on business trips. Dad slowly shook his head. Well, aren't you something son-in-law? A real family man. And his mother... Where is she? Mom asked. She left when he was 3. Said she didn't need a family. Mom's been raising him ever since. Timmy came down the stairs and stood beside me. Mom, do I have a stepbrother? He asked quietly. Apparently so, sweetie. And why didn't Michael tell us a good question? Why would a man hide the existence of his own child from his wife for 4 years? Because then he'd have to support him and care for him, I said. And from Michael's face, I knew I'd hit the nail on the head. And explain why his son doesn't live with his father. That's not it. Then why does he live with your mother and not with you? Michael didn't answer because the answer was obvious. It was more convenient to offload the care of his son onto his mother and build a new life pretending the old one didn't exist. So the boy is coming today too, Mom clarified. Apparently, yes. And what does your mother intend to prove by his arrival that I have a son who needs me more than... Michael faltered, more than Timmy. I finished for him. Your mother wants to prove that my son is an outsider in this family. Not an outsider. She just thinks blood ties are more important. Dad took another step towards his son-in-law, who backed against the wall. Listen to me, son, Nicholas said very quietly. If you think we'll let you hurt Timmy, you are sorely mistaken. I won't hurt anyone. You already have with your idiotic plans. The doorbell rang. Everyone froze. It's her, Michael whispered. Go open it, I said. Greet your guests. Michael went to the door while we remained in the kitchen. Timmy pressed against me and I put an arm around his shoulders. Whatever happens, remember you're my son and I love you, I whispered to him. He nodded, but it was clear he was nervous. From downstairs we heard voices, a woman's commanding and sharp and a young man's. Then footsteps on the stairs. Well, shall we greet our dear guests? Dad said, positioning himself strategically in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room. Linda Peterson came up first, a tall, large woman with meticulously dyed hair and a face that radiated superiority and malice. She wore an expensive coat and gold jewelry clearly dressed to impress. Behind her walked a teenager, tall and thin, with dark hair and eyes strikingly similar to Michael's. He looked around curiously but stayed close to his grandmother. Oh, the whole gang's here, Linda Peterson announced, sweeping her gaze over us. How lovely. Hello, Linda, I said, trying to speak politely. Hello, dearie. Meet Alex, my grandson. Michael's son. The boy nodded, looking at us with cautious interest. Hi, Alex, I said softly. I'm Sarah. Hello, he replied politely. And this is Timmy, I introduced my son. So you two are stepbrothers, it seems. The boys looked at each other with curiosity, but Linda immediately intervened. Alex, we didn't come here to socialize, she said sharply. We have serious business to discuss. Linda, Dad interjected. Watch your tone. There are children present. My mother-in-law looked at him haughtily. And who are you to tell me what to do, the owner of this home's father and Timmy's grandfather, owner of the home? Linda Peterson laughed. What owner? This condo was bought with my son's money. I couldn't believe my ears. What don't you remember? My mother-in-law pulled a folder of documents from her purse. Michael put in more than half the purchase price, which means he's entitled to the larger share. I snatched the folder and started flipping through the documents. Michael's income statements inflated several times over. Promissory notes stating I had supposedly borrowed money from him. Witness testimonies from some people claiming he had contributed the bulk of the sum. This is a forgery, I said. I contributed more money to buy this condo. Prove it. Linda Peterson smirked. We have witnesses and documents. What do you have? I have bank statements, I replied, and real income statements, which you could have faked. My mother-in-law countered, word against word. Only we have more witnesses. Dad silently took the documents from me and examined them carefully. Junk, he said finally. A crude forgery. Any expert will spot it. They won't, my mother-in-law retorted. We paid well for quality, so even the documents were faked, a whole system of deception to force me into a disadvantageous divorce and take the condo. But this is fraud, Mom exclaimed. Prove it. Linda Peterson smirked again. In the meantime, get ready for changes. Alex needs a room and this condo is more suitable for him than… She looked at Timmy with disgust. This one. Alex blushed and looked down, clearly uncomfortable. Linda, I said, trying to remain calm. Do you seriously think I'll let you take my condo with fake documents? You won't just let me, you'll do it. Because if you don't do it voluntarily, you'll do it through court. And then you'll pay compensation too. What compensation? For living in the condo without contributing the main share to its purchase. That requires reimbursement. I looked at Michael, who was standing by the wall, clearly wishing the earth would swallow him. And you agreed to this, I asked. To deceive me with fake documents I didn't want to. Mom came up with it all. I came up with what's necessary for the good of the family. Linda Peterson snapped. Alex needs to live with his father, not with some strange woman. Dad flinched, but I stopped him with a gesture. For now, I wanted to hear everything. And what, in your opinion, should happen next, I asked. Next, you admit the condo belongs to Michael. You get a small compensation, and you move out. And your boy goes to his father as agreed. And if I don't agree, then there will be a trial and it will turn out you're an unfit mother too. We have witnesses. What witnesses? What unfit actions? Various ones. My mother-in-law answered vaguely, for money, people will remember a lot. Timmy suddenly came to me and took my hand. "Mom, can I say something?" "Of course, sweetie." He looked directly at Linda Peterson and said, "Ma'am, you're not telling the truth. And Alex probably doesn't like hearing this." Alex looked up at Timmy in surprise. "You really don't like it?" he asked quietly. "I don't like it when adults argue." Timmy answered honestly. "Me neither," Alex admitted. Linda Peterson turned purple. "Alex, don't talk to that boy." "Why?" the teenager asked, surprised. "He seems okay, because he's not part of our family." "But we're in the same apartment," Alex pointed out logically, "and Dad married her, so it's kind of like family." My mother-in-law looked at her grandson with irritation. Apparently, the boy wasn't as obedient as she'd hoped. "Are you going against your grandmother?" she asked threateningly. "I'm not against you. I just don't understand why we have to fight. Maybe we can work something out." "No way," Linda Peterson barked. "This woman and her child have no right to our home. Our home." I couldn't take it anymore. I put $70,000 into this condo, more than half the cost. Prove it. Gladly. I pulled out my phone. "Here are the bank statements. Here's the sales contract for my old place. Here's the wire transfer confirmation." Linda Peterson tried to grab my phone, but Dad blocked her way. "Don't touch it," he said calmly, "and don't shout in front of the children. Just who do you think you are? Someone who won't let his family be bullied." At that moment, Michael's phone rang again from his pocket. He glanced at the screen and turned even paler. "Who's calling?" his mother demanded. "Andrew." "Sarah's ex. Answer it," she ordered. "Put it on speaker." Michael pressed the button. "Hello, Andrew." "Michael, I've been thinking about our conversation. Maybe we shouldn't rush Timmy's move." What Linda Peterson didn't understand. "Who is this?" Andrew asked, surprised. "Michael's mother." "And what do you mean, don't rush?" "Well, I talked to my wife. She said we need to meet the child first, see how he adjusts. In short, maybe we should leave things as they are for now." Linda Peterson snatched the phone. "Listen, mister, we had an agreement. You're supposed to take the boy. I don't owe you anything," Andrew retorted. "And who are you to order me around anyway? I'm the mother of the man who agreed to help you. What help?" Michael just suggested, "I think about my son changing residences, but I make the decisions." I listened to this conversation and understood Linda Peterson's plan was falling apart. Andrew had apparently thought things over and realized he didn't want to get involved in other people's family drama. "Andrew," I said, taking the phone, "thanks for reconsidering." "Sarah, I realized I was hasty. Sorry about yesterday's call. No problem. If you want, I can have Timmy visit on weekends sometimes. But he needs to live with you. Thanks, we'll discuss it later." I disconnected the call and looked at Linda Peterson. The woman stood there red with anger, fists clenched. "That's it," I said calmly. "The show is over. You can go home." "No way," my mother-in-law bristled. "We're not going anywhere. Alex is staying here." "Grandma," the teenager said quietly, "can I decide for myself where I want to be?" "No, you can't. You're a minor." "But I'm 14, and I don't like how you're behaving." Alex moved away from his grandmother and stood next to Timmy. "I feel calmer here," he said. Linda Peterson stared at her grandson with such astonishment, as if he had betrayed her. "Alex, what's wrong with you?" she whispered. "Nothing's wrong with me. I'm just tired of the constant fights and lies." "What lies?" "You lied to me about Mom. You said she died, but you actually kicked her out of the house." Silence descended. Michael stared at his son, then at his mother. "Mom, what is he talking about?" he asked weakly. "He's talking nonsense," Linda Peterson snapped. "Not nonsense," Alex countered. "I found the letters. Mom wrote to me all these years and you hid them. What letters? The ones you kept in the old suitcase. You thought I wouldn't find them. But I did. And I found out Mom is alive and lives in the next town over." Michael sank onto a chair as if his legs had given out. "Mom, is this true? Is Ellen alive? So what if she is?" My mother-in-law snapped. "She abandoned you anyway." "She didn't abandon him," Alex shouted. "You kicked her out. You told Dad she was a drug addict even though it wasn't true. How do you know?" "From her letters. She explained everything." Michael looked at his mother in horror. "Mom, you stole my wife and son from me. I saved you from an unsuitable woman. What unsuitable woman! I loved her, loved her. Linda Peterson snorted contemptuously. She would have ruined you and left you. But she didn't leave. She wrote letters, wanted to see her son, so what? I raised the boy better than she ever could have. Alex looked at his grandmother with bitterness. You raised me on lies. You made me hate a mother who loved me. I wanted what was best. Best for whom? For me or for yourself? That question hung in the air like an indictment. I knew Linda Peterson had lost definitively. Even her own grandson had turned against her. Alex's question lingered, an unspoken accusation. Linda Peterson stood mouth agape, unsure how to respond. Her own grandson, whom she'd raised for 14 years, was accusing her of lies and deceit. Best for whom, the teenager repeated. You destroyed Dad's family, lied to me about Mom, and now you want to destroy another family. Is that also for the best, Alex, you don't understand? Linda Peterson began. I understand perfectly, the boy interrupted. You just don't want Dad to have his own life. You need to control everyone. Michael sat on the chair, head in his hands. It was likely dawning on him that his mother had manipulated him his entire life. Mom, he said quietly, did you really kick Ellen out? Did you lie to me about her? I was protecting you, my mother-in-law snapped. She was unsuitable. That wasn't your decision to make. Mine. I'm your mother, and I'm a grown man. I should have my own life. What life? With this one? Linda Peterson waved her hand in my direction. She has a child from another man. She's using you enough. Michael roared, jumping to his feet. Enough messing with my head. I watched this scene in astonishment. For the first time in 4 years, Michael had dared to raise his voice to his mother. Mikey, what's gotten into you? Linda Peterson stammered, taken aback. What should have happened a long time ago? I'm tired of your control, but I did everything for your sake. You did it for yourself, so I'd live with you my whole life and obey you. Alex approached his father. Dad, can I ask you something? Do you really want to divorce Aunt Sarah? Michael looked at his son, then at me. I don't know. Mom said it would be better. And what do you think yourself? I'm completely confused. Well, think about it without Grandma's input, Alex advised. Imagine her opinion doesn't exist. What would you choose then? Michael was silent, clearly trying to sort through his own feelings. I would choose, he began, then suddenly stopped hearing footsteps on the stairs. Someone was ringing the apartment doorbell insistently. Who else could it be? Mom wondered. Michael went to open it and returned with a police officer. Good afternoon, the officer greeted them. Officer Davis. Neighbors complained about shouting and noise. Just a family discussion, Officer Dad explained. Nothing serious. Understood. But I'd still like to make sure everything's okay. Linda Peterson perked up. Officer, she exclaimed, overjoyed. Just in time, there's fraud happening here. Officer Davis became alert. What kind of fraud? This woman, my mother-in-law, pointed a finger at me illegally, appropriated my son's condo. How so? She made him sign documents stating he supposedly invested less money in the purchase, when in fact he paid more than half. The officer looked at everyone gathered. Do you have documents to support your claims? Yes. Linda Peterson handed him the folder with the fake statements. Officer Davis carefully examined the papers while Dad, in the meantime, pulled out his phone. And we have the real documents, Nicholas Miller said, bank statements, sale documents from the old condo wire transfers. Those are fakes, my mother-in-law screamed. Fakes. Dad smiled. Officer Davis. Could you perhaps run these documents through your system? I think you'll find something interesting. And you are, Officer Davis asked. Detective Miller retired, Dad stated. 25 years on the force. The officer straightened up. Detective Miller, sir. A pleasure. What do you mean, Dad nodded towards Linda Peterson that this citizen has a history with fraudulent schemes. It's worth checking. Officer Davis took out his radio and began to inquire about something. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Timmy, who had been standing quietly beside me, suddenly said, Can I go to my room? I don't like the shouting. Linda Peterson whirled around to face him, and an expression of such hatred appeared on her face that everyone involuntarily recoiled. There, she screamed. There's the source of all the problems. If it weren't for this parasite, my son would be happy. She pulled a small canister from her purse, pepper spray, and aimed it at Timmy. My mother hates your son so much he can wait in the hallway, Michael yelled, grabbing Timmy by the arm and painfully yanking him towards the door. Timmy cried out in pain and fear. Michael dragged him towards the exit while Linda Peterson waved the canister aiming at the child. Let him get out, she shrieked. Let him not interfere with a normal family. At that moment, Dad did what no one expected. Though knowing his character, it was predictable. He approached Michael from behind and punched him in the jaw with such force that Michael flew against the wall and crumpled to the floor. That's for kicking a child out of the house, Nicholas Miller said, rubbing his knuckles. Michael lay on the floor, clutching his cheek, trying to babble something. Grandpa Timmy rushed to me, clung on, and started crying. It hurts. It's okay, sweetie, I soothed him. It's all over. Officer Davis quickly disarmed Linda Peterson, taking the canister from her. Ma'am, you're under arrest for assault with a chemical agent and threatening a minor, he said, pulling out handcuffs. I was defending myself, my mother-in-law screamed. They wanted to defraud my son. We didn't want anything, Dad said calmly. But as for fraud, Officer Davis, any news from your database? Officer Davis nodded. Yes, a Ms. Linda Peterson is wanted for felony fraud, a major case from 2 years ago. Well, Dad said with satisfaction. So I wasn't the only one who noticed her irregularities. What irregularities the officer didn't understand? Forged documents attempting to seize someone else's property, bribing witnesses. Standard fraudster's toolkit. Linda Peterson was led away in handcuffs, screaming to the last that it was all a conspiracy and she'd been framed. Michael got up from the floor, holding his swollen cheek. Nicholas, why did you hit me? He stammered. For hurting a child and for letting your mother drive everyone crazy. But I was saving him. From the pepper spray. Saving him. Dad looked at him with contempt. You threw a 12-year-old boy out of his home because you couldn't handle your own mother. That's not saving, that's betrayal. Alex approached his father. Dad, I'm ashamed of you, he said quietly. Alex, no, really I am. You're a grown man, but you act like a coward. I'm not a coward. You are. Because you were afraid to stand up for a child against your own mother. Michael hung his head. Even his son had turned away from him. What happens now, he asked me. Now you pack your things and leave, I replied. I'm filing for divorce. Amicably, without a scandal. The condo stays with me because I invested more money in it, and that's easy to prove. And Alex, I looked at the teenager. Alex will decide for himself where he wants to live. If he wants to stay with us, fine. If he wants to go to his real mother, that's fine too. Can I talk to you, Alex asked quietly. Of course, I nodded. I want to find Mom, first learn the truth, then decide. That's the right thing to do, I agreed. You have a right to know the truth. In the meantime, can I stay here? I don't want to go back to Philadelphia. You can, I said, glancing at Timmy. Right, sweetie. Timmy nodded, wiping his tears. Of course you can. We're brothers now, right? Alex smiled for the first time all day. Thanks. Michael packed his belongings into 2 bags. He didn't have much else here. In 4 years, he'd never truly become part of our family, living more like a temporary boarder. Sarah, he said at the door, I really didn't mean to hurt anyone. I know, I replied wearily. You're just weak, and you let your mother control you. Maybe we could try again. Without Mom, no, Michael. After what you did to Timmy, there are no second chances. But I loved him. You loved him, but you kicked him out when things got tough. That's not love, that's convenience. He left, and the apartment immediately felt lighter, as if a source of constant tension had vanished. Well, Dad said, shall we celebrate this birthday? What's there to celebrate? I asked tiredly. My family fell apart, but your real family remained, Mom countered, and new people appeared who deserve it. She nodded at Alex, who was helping Timmy with a Lego set. And you got rid of a man who didn't appreciate you, Dad added, and a mother-in-law who hated you, Mom supported. We sat down at the table, the 3 of us, my parents, me, and the 2 boys. Mom brought out the cake. Dad opened wine for the adults and juice for the kids. "What shall we drink?" to Nicholas asked. "To the truth," I said. "To the fact that it always triumphs over lies. To family," Mom added. "Real family. To Grandpa protecting Timmy," Alex said. "To having a brother now," Timmy added. We ate and drank. The boys quickly became friends. It turned out they had many common interests. Alex talked about life in Philadelphia, Timmy about school and friends in New York. "You know what," Alex said, "I like having a younger brother now." "And I like having an older one," Timmy replied. By evening, I realized this day had indeed become a turning point in my life. But the turn was entirely different from what I'd expected that morning. A week later, Alex and I went to find his mother. We found her easily. Ellen Green lived in a small town about 60 miles from New York, working as a nurse at the local clinic. The meeting was touching. The woman cried, hugging the son she hadn't seen in 11 years. "I thought about you every day," she said. "I wrote letters, but I knew they weren't being delivered." "I found your letters," Mom, Alex said, "and I realized Grandma was lying. She wanted what was best for Michael. She thought I was a bad wife." "You weren't bad," the boy said. "You were just young and scared of her." Ellen Green turned out to be a good person. Over the years, she'd become a nurse and married a doctor but had no more children. "Alex," she said, "I want you to know you can always live with me. But if you're happy in New York—" "I'm happy," the teenager replied. "Aunt Sarah is kind and I have a younger brother. But I'll visit you often. Please do. My home is always open." And so it was. Alex stayed with us but regularly visited his mother on weekends. Ellen sometimes came to visit us, a normal, calm woman who was happy her son had a family. The divorce from Michael went smoothly. He didn't contest it, probably realizing what he'd done. The condo remained mine. Documents confirmed I'd contributed the larger share. Michael tried to meet Alex a few times, but Alex refused. "I'm not ready to talk to him," the teenager explained. "I need time to think." "That's your right," I'd say. "Don't rush it." Linda Peterson was tried for fraud and received 2 years of probation. In court, she maintained to the end that she'd been framed, but the evidence was overwhelming. And we started living our lives. Timmy and Alex went to the same school, helped each other with homework, sometimes argued like real brothers, but quickly made up. "Mom," Timmy asked one day, "do you regret divorcing Michael?" "No," I answered honestly. "I only regret not doing it sooner." "Why didn't you?" "I was scared. I thought it would be hard alone with a child. And now I understand it's better to be alone than with someone who doesn't respect you. And you're not lonely with us." "With you guys, I'm great," I smiled, hugging both boys. About 3 months later, something unexpected happened. Michael married some young woman from Philadelphia and moved there for good. Apparently, he decided to start fresh. "Do you think he's changed?" Mom asked. "I don't know," I replied. "But that's not my concern anymore." And 6 months after that, I met someone new. We met at the school's PTA. Greg Stevens, father of Timmy's classmate, divorced with a daughter in 7th grade. He works as an engineer, a calm, reliable man who doesn't try to boss anyone around and isn't afraid of responsibility. The complete opposite of Michael. Mom, Timmy, said one day, "Do you like Mr. Stevens?" "I do," I admitted. "And you?" "Me too. He doesn't yell or kick kids out of the house." "That's a good quality in a man," I agreed. "Can he have dinner with us sometimes?" "He can. But I'm not rushing things. After Michael, I need time to learn to trust again. And I want to be sure that a new person will accept not only me, but my boys too. For now, I was fine as I was. I have a job, I love a condo that truly belongs to me, and 2 sons who prove every day that family isn't about blood ties, but about love and mutual support. 35 was a good age for a new life free of lies, manipulation, and fear of tomorrow. Sometimes I think about that birthday, and I realize it was the best gift fate could have given me. If I hadn't found those tickets, if Timmy hadn't found the documents, if my parents hadn't arrived at the right moment, I'd still be living a lie. But the truth came out painfully but quickly and opened the way to an honest life. Mom, Alex asked recently, "Are you angry at Dad?" "I'm not angry," I replied. "I pity him." "Why?" "Because he lost a good family, because he couldn't stand up for it, and if he asks for forgiveness, I'll forgive him. But we can't live together anymore. Some things can't be forgiven." "Understood." Alex didn't ask about his father again. He probably understood everything himself. And Timmy recently said, "Mom, it's good everything turned out this way. Now I have a real brother and a grandpa who protects me." "And what else is good?" I asked. "That you're not sad anymore. You used to be sad a lot when you thought I didn't see. Children notice everything." And Timmy was right. I really wasn't sad anymore because I was living honestly with people who love me and whom I love, and the rest doesn't matter. The story didn't end with a fairy tale happily ever after, but with a good, calm life without princes or castles, but with real feelings and real people around. And that perhaps is better than any fairy tale. A year passed since that memorable birthday. Alex still lives with us regularly, communicates with his mother, but considers our condo his home. Michael tried to mend his relationship with his son a few times, but Alex isn't ready yet. Maybe someday later, the teenager says, when he proves he's changed. A wise boy, not vengeful, but not naive either. And recently, something interesting happened. The doorbell rang. I opened it. A woman in her 60s stood there, well-dressed, with a bouquet of flowers. "Are you Sarah?" she asked. "Yes. I'm Lois Matthews, Greg Stevens' mother. May I come in, the mother of my new acquaintance?" I didn't even know he'd told his parents about me. The woman turned out to be the complete opposite of Linda Peterson. Calm, polite, with a sense of humor. "Greg talks about you a lot," she said over tea. "And about your boys, too. Hopefully good things, very good things. He says, she's a wonderful mother and a strong woman." "Thank you. And I wanted to meet you because, well, my son is an adult, he knows what he's doing. But it's important to me that he's happy. It's important to me that everyone is happy too. Wonderful. Then we'll understand each other." And we really did understand each other. Lois Matthews, a retired teacher, a widow, lives alone but doesn't interfere in her adult son's life. The polar opposite of the mother-in-law who drove her own child to a nervous breakdown. "You know," she said as she was leaving, "Greg has changed since he met you. He's become calmer, more confident." That's a good sign. Maybe it's too early to talk about a serious relationship, but it's nice to know that if something does develop, there won't be a crazy mother-in-law trying to destroy the family. For now, I'm just living, working, raising my sons, occasionally seeing a good man who doesn't demand immediate decisions or throw jealousy scenes. Life has become quiet, calm, and honest, exactly as it should be at 36, and I'm very happy about that.